Africa in the Origins of Binary Code by Ron Eglash. From CCRU's Abstract Culture Digital Hyperstition. This text retrieved from CCRU.net. Quote, "The relationship between what we do as physicists today and the future that our work engenders is dialogical in the sense that not only do our present actions determine what our future will be, but we must be ever mindful of the impact of our present actions on the future. Through our moral responsibility and awareness of signals and trends, we in effect listen to what the future has to tell us." End quote by Donald Walton, Chair of the National Conference of Black Physics Students, 1995. While the temporal traditions of African societies were frequently cited by colonialists as evidence for primitive superstition, they appear today in quite the opposite context. Mathematical analyses of traditional African designs, techniques, and knowledge systems indicated a wide array of sophisticated indigenous inventions. Like Paul Gilroy's Fractal Atlantic, Donald Walton's invocation of African divination traditions of listening to the future is not only useful in his call for greater ethical responsibility, but also as a reminder of the surprising links between traditional knowledge and modern science. The modern binary code, essential to every digital circuit from alarm clocks to supercomputers, was first introduced by Leibniz around 1670. Leibniz has been inspired by the binary-based logic machine of Raymond Lull, which was in turn inspired by the alchemist divination practice of geomancy. But geomancy is clearly not of European origin. It was first introduced there by Hugo of Santalla in 12th century Spain, and Islamic scholars have been using it in North Africa since at least the 9th century, where it was first documented in written records by the Jewish writer Aaron ben Joseph. Geomancy is traditionally practiced by drawing patterns in the sand. It begins with 4 sets of random dashed lines. These are paired off, i.e. sum by addition module 2, and the even-odd result recorded with 2 strokes or 1 stroke. 4 of these binary digits represents one of the 16 possible divination archetypes: ruler, travel, desire, etc. Although the first 4 are generated by this random process, the following 12 are created by recursively applying the same pairing operation on the binary digits making up the 4 symbols, a process which can be seen in many other areas of African knowledge systems. The nearly identical system of divination in West Africa, associated with the Fa and Ifa, was first noted by Trotman in 1939, but he assumed that geomancy originated in Arabic society, where it was known as Ilm al-Ram, the science of sand. The mathematical basis of geomancy is, however, strikingly out of place in non-African systems. Like other linguistic codes, number bases tend to have an extremely long historical persistence. The ancient Greeks held 10 to be the most sacred of all numbers. The Kabbalah's Ayin Sov emanates by 10 Sephirot, and the Christian West counts on its Hindu-Arabic decimal notation. In ancient Egypt, on the other hand, base 2 calculation was ubiquitous, even for multiplication and division, and Zaleslavsky, in 1973, notes archaeological evidence linking it to the use of doubling in the counting systems of sub-Saharan Africa. Koch, in 1912, notes that both Diodorus Siculus and Oblion reported that the ancient Egyptian priests employed an image of truth cut in halves. Doubling is a frequent theme in African divination and many other African knowledge systems, connecting the sacredness of twins, spirit doubles, and double vision with material objects, like the blacksmith's twin bellows and the double iron hoe given in Bridewell. In a recent interview in Wired, Brian Eno claimed that the problem with computers is that they don't have enough African in them. Eno was, no doubt, trying to be complimentary, saying that adaptive rhythm and flexibility is a valuable attribute of African culture. But in doing so, he obscured the cultural origins of digital computing and did an injustice to the very concept he was trying to convey. Take, for example, Henry Louis Gates' 1988 use of a recursive doubling description when discussing the relations between divination and sexuality in West African traditions. Quote, "The Faun and Yorubu escape the Western assertion of discursive sexism through the action of doubling the double. The number 4 and its multiples are sacred in Yorubu metaphysics. Esu's two sides disclose a hidden wholeness. Rather than closing off unity, through the opposition, they signify the passage from one to the other as sections of its assumed whole." End quote. The binary coding of traditional African knowledge systems, like that of their antecedents in modern computing networks, is neither rigid nor arrhythmic. Its beat is a heritage heard by those who listen to the future.